The director of The Last Dance said episode 7 was his hands down favorite, so I had high hopes and it knocked it out of the park. See what I did there? We got to see even deeper into Jordan's competitive side. We got the long-awaited Jordan being a bully moment. Episode 8 showed us his road back from baseball to the basketball court. It also reminded me, though, that this documentary is not perfect. One takeaway is that we still have not seen from someone who's a big missing piece. But still, the takeaways here from episodes 7 and 8 are positive. The raw, behind-the-scenes look at MJ we needed at the perfect time. Hey guys, it's Casey Kiernan, host of the AM Hoops YouTube channel. We're putting out 5 videos per week, including recaps and reviews of every single night of The Last Dance. This one is part of a playlist. Go check out the other recaps and reviews. Also hit subscribe and hit notification bells. It really helps out the channel. Takeaway number 1 is Michael Jordan the bully. We were warned months in advance that we would see a side of MJ that would not be flattering. It wouldn't mesh with the all smiles public persona. MJ actually, before the documentary came out, was worried it would change what we thought of him, that people wouldn't get what it took for him to push his teams to 6 championships. I've complained so far, we haven't seen it. Last night we finally did get the raw trash talk and I loved it.
Go sit your ass down. Game time. That's 9. Hey, Scott Burrell, where you out there now?
So let's be clear, that was harsh, and clearly he's not the kind of leader who leads with love. He's the kind that leads with fear. But I think that his fear that we would look at him differently is totally off here. I don't think anyone thinks less of MJ. If anything, we respect him even more. My favorite 3 minutes of the entire documentary was at the end of episode 7, where The Last Dance perfectly showed us MJ's motivation for being so harsh. He told us why he led with an iron fist. In his later years, he saw that relaxed attitude of the new Bulls on the team who hadn't actually won anything. That attitude would have made his team losers. He knew what it took to be a winner, and they went back over all the losing years that we relived in this documentary. Then Jordan got emotional when he was asked if his intensity has come at the expense of being perceived as a nice guy. And I was asking myself, out of all the things that they've covered in this documentary, why did that one subject move him to tears? The only subject that he's actually shed a tear over.
It is who I am. That's how I played the game. That was my mentality. If you don't want to play that way, don't play that way. Break.
And I think it's because that's how much competing means to him. I mean, we've seen over and over what kind of elite, kind of inhuman competitor he is. And MJ probably doesn't allow himself to emotionally go back to that place when he played because it's probably just too intense. And doing this documentary has allowed him to go back there emotionally, and it brought him to tears. My favorite 3 minutes of the entire docuseries so far. We also learned that Michael Jordan could never be a coach. Maybe he could be, but he'd kind of be like Bobby Knight, where he explodes all the time. There's controversies. He's throwing chairs across the court. The best coaches know who to put their arm around, who to scream at. And MJ only had a hammer in his toolbox. His relationship with Scotty Burrell painted that picture perfectly. And Burrell had the best line about MJ's attempt to motivate.
Each and every day, he's going to push you to try to get you where he is. But I'm not sure if he knows that only he can achieve those goals, but he can push other guys to try to get there, though.
Jordan's competitive nature was shown also with the Steve Kerr punch story. And we all know that story so well that it was edge of your seat stuff hearing them tell it. I knew that Steve Kerr could snap. He said that himself in the doc, and we've seen it from him as the Warriors coach. I didn't know, though, that the punch was the best thing to happen to Kerr and Jordan as teammates. That was great insight. Kerr was new to Jordan, and fighting back is how he earned MJ's respect. We got to see even more examples of Jordan using opponents' disrespect as motivation. B.J. Armstrong trash-talking in the playoffs. George Karl not looking at him in that restaurant. LaBradford Smith shutting him down and saying, hey, nice game. It's fascinating that a guy so fueled by winning also needs to make it personal to be fully motivated. Takeaway number 2 is who we haven't heard from. For all the thoroughness and behind the scenes gold in this documentary, I can't help but wonder why we haven't heard from MJ's wife. I was reminded during these episodes about her. She's right next to him during the retirement news conference. They're explaining how Jordan's dad was by his side for the first 3 titles. So is his wife. They met in 1985, divorced in 2006, and whenever the cameras were off, no one was around, he was with her. If we're gonna get a true behind the scenes, why wasn't Juanita Vanoy involved? The official reason is this, according to Last Dance director Jason Hare. Quote, "I wasn't interested in the opinion of any wife or kids in this. We had the storytellers we wanted, and I felt like we had the story covered from every angle." Okay, so I'm gonna call BS there on having it covered from every angle. Dude's wife, who is with him through all the years of this documentary, is a huge angle. I get why you wouldn't want to have kids, maybe because they were too young to remember, but you can't say, well, we just didn't want family. I mean, his mom and his brothers are in almost every episode. It's another reminder, this is a Michael Jordan production. He was involved in the making of the film. Without him, we wouldn't even have the footage or his interview. I understand that divorces can be tough. She got almost 200 million. She probably doesn't have the best opinion of him. But to say that they have it covered from every angle is just not true. And it's a reminder, this documentary is about MJ as MJ wants to be remembered. Now that's not bad. I love this documentary. Maybe my favorite basketball doc ever. I love the winner competitor version of MJ that we're getting, but don't be fooled. This is an incomplete picture. Takeaway number 3 was how stupid the conspiracy people look right now. One thing The Last Dance does so well is show the media circus around Michael Jordan. From all the commotion at his retirement news conference in episodes 7 and 8, the baseball game the night before he announced, the people at his minor league games, but for certain people in the press to randomly suggest that Jordan's gambling was connected to his father's death and his going to baseball is totally irresponsible. I mean, that belongs in like the National Enquirer next to Bat Boy on the cover, not an actual outlet. Just because you can connect some dots doesn't mean there's truth. But the fact is, people couldn't wrap their heads around it, and whenever that happens, people come up with conspiracies. I was looking on the internet for crazy conspiracies. And did you know, a French conspiracy website said Wuhan, China was one of the first places to get 5G cell phone service, so 5G might be a cause of coronavirus. People were out there believing this, burning down cell phone towers. Just because there's some weird coincidence doesn't make things fact. But people will believe what they want to believe, and I just think those people are stupid. I have never believed the Jordan gambling conspiracy. I do think it's kind of fun to think about that stuff, but I don't take it seriously. I hope this documentary put that to bed for a lot of people. And takeaway number 4 is that Jordan is human. Episode 8 showed us that Jordan is human in 2 ways. His baseball failure and his losing when he attempted to come back to the NBA mid-season in 1995. If you watch the episodes right now, you might be thinking, wait, was baseball a failure? I mean, he could have made it to the majors. That's what they said. Yeah, that's another reminder this is a Michael Jordan production. But yes, he couldn't hit a curveball despite being Michael Jordan, looking like a major league player, having the work ethic he did. He was born to play basketball. He was also a human during the 1995 mid-season comeback. They lost to the Orlando Magic. By the way, kind of weird that we don't hear from Shaq in this documentary, right? And Jordan had to rebuild his body to be like Mike again, which he eventually did. But that failed comeback just made me think about some of today's players. It was just reported last week that Kevin Durant is not gonna play after all. If the playoffs start up again, KD is out, despite being over a year post-surgery, and that they're probably gonna have a month-long training camp to warm up for the playoffs. Just watching MJ get his ass kicked by the Magic and knowing his work ethic and his drive, I couldn't help but think, what would MJ do in KD's situation? So, Michael, after losing, had those dream team-like pickup games while shooting Space Jam, and eventually he got back and tore off his next three-peat. And takeaway number 5 is the effect on Scottie Pippen's legacy. Now, Michael Jordan was concerned that this behind-the-scenes footage and the interviews might affect the way we look at him. It's affecting the way we look at some other players instead. First, it was Isaiah Thomas in previous episodes, us reliving the fact that they didn't shake hands. He was the odd man out on the Dream Team. But episode 7 brought back that infamous moment in the playoffs when Michael Jordan was retired and Scottie Pippen refused to go in the game because the play wasn't drawn up for him. Now luckily, Tony Kukoc hit that shot and they won that game, but at the time it was a black mark on his legacy, and I think it affects the way we look at him even today. I mean, maybe that wouldn't be the case if he was truly sorry for turning his back on his teammates, but I was shocked to hear Scottie Pippen in 2020 say he would do it again.
It should never happen, but if I had a chance to do it over again, I probably wouldn't change it.
I cannot wait for episodes 9 and 10 because I know how tough the Pacers were for those 98 Bulls in the playoffs. Even Reggie Miller said they were probably the better team. It's bittersweet though because it means the documentary will be over. But episodes 7 and 8, so far my favorite night of The Last Dance. Support AM Hoops and click subscribe. Don't miss a daily NBA video.